If you push down on the center of the water bed, the rest of the bed raises, right? And I think of brand that same way. Like if I can build a really big brand, then everything else is gonna lift all around it.
All right, so we're at the Duke Mansion today in beautiful Myers Park, Charlotte. And why are we here? We're here because Kyle Whissel flew into town from San Diego, and this guy is a legend. He is a killer in the real estate industry. He sold $371 million in 2022. He runs one of the biggest and most productive organizations within eXp Realty called Fast Forward Movement, which has 8 of the top 10 teams in all of eXp and 28 of the top 50 teams. So the best of the best are associated with him, and he is here today to explain his top 15 tips that he's learned in the last 15 years. So let's see what he's got to say.
The number one thing to me to be successful in this business, we were having a little conversation at breakfast, is to truly live and die by your calendar. If you really want to get successful, if you really want to get to that next level in this business, you have to live and die by the calendar. And I obsess over not just having the calendar, but what goes in the calendar, how we prioritize things in the calendar. The biggest mistake that I see people make is not prospecting every single day. Like that is something, even to this day, I was sharing my calendar at breakfast, like it's still in my calendar. I have a power hour in my calendar every day. Prospecting can be moved on a calendar, but it can never be replaced. So let's just say you have that weird fluky situation where it just happens to be Tuesday at 11 o'clock. I know that's when I'm supposed to be prospecting, but I have this out of town buyer that's coming in. It's the only time they can see properties. Great. But you still have to prospect that day. You're just gonna move that around. You could take other stuff out of your calendar, but you cannot take prospecting out of your calendar. It has to be in there, it's gotta be in there every single day. One of the biggest questions that gets asked in like any real estate group is, what CRM do you use? What system do you use? Honestly, it doesn't matter. Like we met at Boomtown, now we use Ylopo, some people use Sierra, some people use KV Core, like they're all gonna work if you put in the work. A lot of people think like, oh, I use that system sucks. Does the system suck? Or do you suck? Have you taken the time to actually go through the training, to understand the system? What happens when a lead comes in? What are the options for it? What are these different stages or sources or tags, descriptors? Like what are all these different things? There's so many times that people don't actually take the time to do the trainings, to do the Q&As, to really understand these systems. One of the things that I think everybody should do is become a lead in your own system, because you need to know what happens when somebody signs up on your website. And if what happens when somebody signs up on your website is that they just get put on the default buyer plan or the default seller plan, like that's a huge problem. This one's really important too, is treat every client like they're your only client. One of the things I tell all of my agents when they start with us is the most important thing is do as many deals as you possibly can. I don't care what the price point is. I don't care if they're trying to buy a $20,000 piece of dirt or a $20 million house on the ocean. Take every deal that you can, but every client that you work with, treat them like they're your only client, no matter how many you have. And we talked about this at our breakfast today too, is that you've got to really understand the value of your time. So you need to think in your business, if you want to make $50 an hour, you have to eliminate all of the tasks that are below that level. You got to think about all the little things that you do throughout the day and think about, are these $50 an hour tasks, or could I have somebody else do these tasks for me? So maybe you're not hiring somebody in person, but maybe you're hiring a virtual assistant. Like the amount of talent that's out there is crazy. And think about like all the little things that you do on a daily basis that are below $50 an hour. Like, are you calling and scheduling all your own showings? I don't know about you, but I hate that task. I think that's one of the most time-consuming, tedious tasks that there is. If I could offload that to a virtual assistant for $4 an hour and my time is worth 50, that's a pretty good trade, right? There's so many little tasks that we're doing that are gonna hold us back. Because if we wanna get to making $50 an hour, we have to stop doing $10, $15 an hour tasks. And so think about all the little things that you're doing in your business, and are these $50 an hour tasks or not? If they're not, you've got to offload those tasks. And then last one on stage 2 is just build your brand. I think that brand is something that is not emphasized enough in our industry. I obsess over brand. Like, I obsess over what do people think of when they think of Whissel. I want that obviously to be a very positive thing that people think of, but I also want to make it something that people know. Because if you can build a really solid brand, everything else that happens in your business is gonna get a lift. Some of you guys that are old school, I had a waterbed when I was a kid. Like, if you push down on the center of the waterbed, the rest of the bed raises, right? And I think of brand that same way. Like, if I can build a really big brand, then everything else is gonna lift all around it. And so if I can build that brand, the way we've done that is by utilizing video. We're one of the pioneers of doing the interviews with local businesses. We've been doing that for like 8 years. And what happens by doing that is, one, we're getting relationships with the business owner, but more importantly, when you do the local restaurant, is you created this piece of content that people are actually gonna consume, that they actually care about. So you need to establish what your core values are. This book, if you guys haven't read Traction, actually goes through a really good exercise of how to establish core values. The way that we did is we've thought about our entire team and thought about, like, who are the 3 people on our team that if we could clone, we would hire 1,000 of them. So first we picked 2 of those 3 people, and then what are the core values that they exhibit that we love about them so much? And that was actually how we came up with our core values. And then once you come up with them, you have to first hire to them, you have to do reviews to them, and you have to fire to them. And if you're not willing to do all 3 of those, then there's no point even having them. And it goes through an exercise in that book. So again, read that whole system that's in Traction. It's called EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System. Has completely changed the way I run my businesses. People say, like, what got you here won't get you there, and I think that that is very true. The task that got you to hitting that $50 an hour that you sought out, you can't keep doing those same tasks if you want to get to $100 an hour or $200 an hour. You got to start shedding some of those tasks. So that same stoplight exercise that you did when you were hiring an assistant early, you have to do those same things, but now it's much higher level things that you're going to start delegating and giving off to other people. And then the last one is kind of what we started this thing with, is you got to mastermind with people who are at or above your level. And so think about, what rooms are you getting yourself in? Who are you masterminding with? What level are they at? Because if you're the biggest fish in the room, you can only grow so big. There's a thing, I actually learned this because I had a koi pond at one point. Like, we have always thought about goldfish because we've had fish tanks, and you put a goldfish in a fish tank, and how big does a goldfish get? Like this big? You know what happens if you put a goldfish in a pond? They get like this friggin' big, because you can only grow to the size of the environment that you're in. And so think about the environments that you're in. Who are you masterminding with? Who are you connecting with on a consistent basis? Because if you can get yourself out of the fish tank and get yourself into the pond, it can allow you to grow significantly bigger and a whole lot faster. All right, guys, that's a wrap.
All right, that was awesome. So we had 30 of the top agents in Charlotte here at the Duke Mansion on a Monday morning. We actually got them to show up. We actually got them to learn something. So why do you, first of all, thank you for coming and doing this. Thank you for taking the red eye in. Why do you do this? Why do you travel around and speak to agents like this on a Monday morning after flying overnight?
For sure. So, I mean, it's 2 reasons. One, I'm a huge believer in that this real estate ecosystem is one of those that the more you put into it, the more that you're going to get out of it. And so I'm a big believer in just pouring in and helping other realtors all around the country to just level up and help them grow their business. I get a huge high off of that. It's really fun for me. It's exciting, and I love to share. Today we went over 15 things I've learned in my 15-year career in real estate. So it's a blast doing that. And it's even more of a blast when I get to do it with partners that are part of the fast forward movement with us. us over at eXp Realty. This group is all about helping people shortcut their learning curves to accomplishing the goals that they've set for themselves. And so by being a part of the group with Andy and a bunch of the other amazing people in this group, we've really helped a lot of realtors around the country get to where they want to go a whole lot faster.
And if you want to learn more about what kind of things we do together, how we partner together, please reach out, because we have amazing masterminds every single week, almost every day, every week. And if you want to sit in on those, I can get you into those. Kyle's speaking on those all the time. It's fantastic for your business. But before we go, be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube, and I'll see you next week.
And I'll see you on the mastermind.